Hello, everybody. Welcome to Live from the Tower, your one stop shop for all things Destiny. And Bungie absolutely cooked with the Edge of Fate stream. Now, I've got my notes in front of me. There's a lot to get into. I'm going to try and just do this all off the cuff, keep it minimal, no real big cuts, no big edits. You're going to hear my cat running around in the background. She's got all her toys. She just ate. She has the zoomies like nobody's business, and she's going to Tokyo drift around this entire apartment. Right off the bat, the new trailer, the one they've been teasing for the past couple of days with the emissary, that's what they opened the showcase with. And what it does is it has one of the nine talking to the emissary, saying how after light and darkness there's silence, this, that, and the third. And the emissary breaks out of essentially what is almost a snake skin. I know there's a lot of lore regarding that. That's something Bife has talked about. But once that all kind of breaks out and that's all dealt with, she is reborn again as a guardian, maybe? We know she was a guardian in the past, but we don't know if she's a guardian again because there was no sign of a ghost. So it's clear that she's separated herself from the Nine. This is all post Rite of the Nine, which we'll get into in a second. And she says the line, "My will is my own," which is the antithesis to Xur, who says, "My will is not my own." So there's that dichotomy of she's free from the Nine, Xur's not free from the Nine. And the planet that we see her on, that's actually going to be the new destination for. I almost said Renegade. Renegade's something else. We'll talk about that real quickly. That's the new destination for Edge of Fate, Keplar, which is in the Ort belt. I keep wanting to say Orxon, but that's from Ratchet and Clank. So right off the bat, there's a new planetoid in the Oort belt, which is called Keplar. And they set this up where we are invited to Keplar. Us, Ikora Rey, a new character called Lodi, I believe, and the Nine have essentially summoned all of these different characters to this very specific place at this very specific time for something. We don't know what. Obviously, that's what we'll find out in the expansion. Now, the next thing they not talked about, but they showed in the trailer is the House of Exile is returning and the Vex are here, and they both have new enemy enemy ranks. The Fallen have a Corsair, which flies around on a jetpack. The Vex have these weird little mind bots that fly out at you. They're not harpies. Think of them as much smaller. I'm getting out of breath. I'm really excited, and I really want to talk about this stuff. I gotta. Okay, I'm gonna stop for a second. Woo-sa. Woo-sa. Okay. We also saw the Fallen wielding Stasis and Strand, and we're not entirely sure how they get it. Although during the stream, one of the panel members, I forget their name, and I don't exactly know who said it, but I know it was said that the Fallen revere an entity on Keplar known as the Giver. And I'm very curious to see if that character is connected to something else they announced. Announced? No, announced. It's announced, guys. Not right off the bat, but one thing I do want to get out and in the air as quickly as possible is this is the new saga. This is going to be called the Prophecy Saga, and it's going to be a multi-year saga. They didn't specify how long, which I think is good because they don't set the expectation. If they came out and said, "Oh, the future saga is going to be a 2-year-long saga," and then proceeded to do this showcase. Did I just call it the future saga? I'm thinking of Ratchet and Clank a lot, and I don't know why. But it's the Prophecy Saga. So we had the full reveal of Edge of Fate. We had a teaser trailer for the winter expansion, which is known as Renegades, formerly codenamed Behemoth. And then we have the announcement of 2 more expansions. The expansion for the summer of 2026 is going to be called, I have it written here somewhere. Give me 1 second. Shattered Cycle. And then the final expansion they announced is called The Alchemist. And I'm really curious to see if The Alchemist is tied to the Giver. They talked about the Nine and how the Nine are revealed, not revealed, but the Nine should be looked at as ones with the celestial bodies in soul. So essentially, there's one for 8 of the planets and the sun, as opposed to one for the 9 of the planets, because they're not counting Pluto. So they also really drove home the point that this saga, the Prophecy Saga, is supposed to bring Destiny back to its roots in a way where it's all about discovery. They said the Edge of Fate will bring up questions that we will not get answers to. And I like that actually. It gives us a reason not just to keep playing, but it reminds me of when I started playing Destiny 1. There were no answers. We didn't know anything. It was all about discovery and awe and questioning all this stuff. So I am looking forward to that aspect of it. They did show off the quote unquote crown jewel of the expansion, which is these new dark matter abilities. Essentially, dark matter is going to fuse with some of our elements to let us use these abilities in the open world play space, in quests, in side quests. Two of them they showed off. I should say three. One was this void gravity cannon that lets you get through laser grids. Another one had it fused with Strand where you could manipulate and move platforms. And the third one, which everybody loved, is the Metroid Arc Ball, where essentially you charge up as the Guardian into a ball and you can zip around the place. The example they showed was they moved platforms with the Strand ability, and then they went charged up with the Arc Ball and used it to progress. I'm interested. We do know this is very Metroidvania inspired, so these abilities seem to indicate some sort of progression through the game and through the open world. Now, as for the open world, they did announce that there are going to be world tiers in Edge of Fate, and what they're going to do is the harder world tiers that you unlock as you play the campaign will offer new challenges and greater rewards when you come back to, it seemed like, replay them. I don't necessarily know if we can replay missions in this expansion. I'd love it if we could. That's one of the things that I miss from Destiny 1. One, as someone who makes videos and a podcast like this, it's easier for me to go and capture footage. And two, sometimes you just want to replay those things without having to start a fresh character all over again. So we'll see. All right, next on the list, we talked about the multi-year discovery. All right, modular difficulty and the portal. These are two things that go hand in hand. So the portal we know about, they revealed that earlier in the year, but they really showed off what the portal screen looks like. And the way it's set up, in the top left, you have the expansion, the campaign. They want you to do this, and the whole point of the portal is to get you into the game without having to fumble through menus and tabs and all this stuff. And as someone with ADHD who gets overwhelmed a lot, especially when I log into Destiny and I have stuff just sitting in my quest log, I really do enjoy this quality of life improvement, because now I can log into the game and instead of going into my director and fumbling through tabs and menus, I just open the portal. I have the expansion in the left corner. In the bottom right, they showed a quick start for whatever campaign mission you're on. And then in the bottom left, we have our playlists. So we have Solo Ops, Fireteam Ops, Pinnacle Ops, and Crucible Ops. And then in the right column above the campaign quick select, we had something that showed off the seasonal tab, which you'll find it said daily and weekly rewards. I'm wondering if it's the same setup as we currently have, and we'll touch on seasons in a little bit, but that was very interesting. And it was a big splash screen like you get when you start a campaign mission for the expansion, which is always nice. I do like seeing those splash screens. The modular difficulty is something that is in 3 of the 4 portal nodes, and I'm specifically talking about the ops that are in the bottom left-hand corner when you're looking at it. And they're introducing 50 new modifiers, I believe they said, and this is to tweak the difficulty to your liking. And they showed off difficulty settings, which are similar to what we have now: Adept, Hero, Nightfall, Grandmaster, and there's a new one labeled Ultimate. And the harder the difficulty, you saw almost a progression bar of some sort fill up, and it showed you different rewards. And the whole logic behind this is the harder activity you do, the greater you're rewarded if you succeed. All of these have matchmaking except solo ops, which is huge. Because if you're going into something like Pinnacle Ops, which I'm led to believe it's some sort of Grandmaster, maybe a dungeon, they mentioned exotic quests living in this tab. Having matchmaking for that stuff changes the dynamic of how that all encounters. Because now you don't have to go through Fireteam Finder, and now if people aren't online, you can matchmake into that. I wonder if they're testing this with Rite of the Nine, because in Rite of the Nine, at the lowest difficulty setting, you matchmake into these dungeons. So I wonder if this is sort of the beta test for what Portals are going to bring. Solo Ops is stuff that you do by yourself, and there's flavor text for each of these, which I really liked because the Solo Ops one sort of played off the fantasy of being the one-man army for the Vanguard. And this whole screen system, whatever you want to call it, this is meant to funnel you into the power grind, which I love. For too long have we in Destiny had to sit there and go to a website to figure out A, what do I need to level up, and B, what order should I do these things in? Now it's all simplified. It's one menu. You go in there, and this is how you're going to level up. Another thing they're bringing back is full power progression in Crucible. Are they making PvP great again? I don't know. I've been told by my sources, please look forward to the Edge of Fate. And I saw this trailer, and that was one of the first things I messaged to them. I said, what are we doing? We're full leveling in PvP? And they even said on stream, they said, have your buddy who plays a bunch of Crucible. That's what they love. When they grind out the power level and they want to try this endgame content, now they're geared. Bring them on in. It's pretty big, if you ask me. So that's the core. That's the hobby. And they mentioned that a bunch on the live stream, is they really want to tweak the experience of the hobby for Destiny 2. The next thing, I'm reading through my notes. We've glitched. I had an order. It's all gone. It's all gone to chaos. It's okay. Rite of the Nine is the prologue to Edge of Fate, as I mentioned earlier, which is interesting because that's Bungie's get out of jail free card of, oh, what happens in Heresy directly affects us, leads us into the expansion. That's fine, right? Right, Daisy? My cat's watching the tsunami outside, and she's chiming in. She knows that Bungie's got a get out of jail free card. I'm not necessarily mad at that. I'm poking fun. It's something to take note of. We talked about world tiers. Oh, tiered gear. They showed this off. We have a better understanding of how Armor 3.0 is kind of going to work. We're getting full energy armor, which means no more mats. As someone who struggles with making builds, if this is true, even if it's higher tier armor that I have to grind for, I'll do it. Because the mat system has become a little cumbersome. One of the things I've stated for the past couple of years about Destiny 2, and the reason I advocate for Destiny 3 so much, is because Destiny 2 feels a bit bloated, and it's not just weapons and armor, it's systems and the things that we do. They moved away from legendary shards, now everything was a glimmer, but we still have enhancement prisms, we still have masterwork prisms, or whatever the crystals are called, enhancement cores, upgrade materials, ascendant shards, ascendant alloys. We have all these things, exotic ciphers that go into upgrading our character, and they don't really necessarily need to be there, especially because there's no clear path to getting all of these. You can put on a ghost mod and hope for the best, but having something where, oh no, if you want fully energized armor, you have to do this thing on Nightfall difficulty in the Fireteam's ops, but it's match made, I'm going in. It's something to chase. It gives me a reason to go in. Now, speaking of tiers and something to chase, they showed off a tier 5 auto rifle. and the entire thing had enhanced perks, enhanced barrels, enhanced magazines, 3 perks in every perk column. It was insane. And they said that tier 5 guns, which are, I believe, the highest tier, are going to have unique cosmetics to them. They're going to have a unique shader, very similar to the holofoil stuff we've been getting since Into the Light. I believe they're going to have unique, I don't know, kill effects or bullet effects. It's all going to be to signify that this is the peak weapon, which I really like. They've done things like this in the past. We've had holofoil weapons, which we're getting more, and we'll touch on that in a second. We've had hard mode weapons, the master time lost weapons from Destiny 2. We've had, I'm trying to think what else, ornaments way back in Season of Drifter. So stuff like this is really nice because I'm a big cosmetic guy. But one thing they did add is the tier system is to help you denote what's a better piece of gear. Now, as someone who is terrified of not having the god roll when it's finally a god roll, whose vault is chronically full because I can't let go of things, having a system where I can say, oh yeah, I have this tier 3 scout rifle, and I'm running around with it, and then I get a tier 5 drop of it. The tier 3 one, I don't believe there's going to be a time where, oh, no, you need the lower tier one. No, I want the higher tier one. It's shiny, but it's not optimal, but it's better than what I have. Systems like that relieve that bloat that I was talking about, that make it easier for players, is huge. I'm so sorry that my camera's just shaking because I'm so animated and the floor is not entirely stable, but I digress. That makes the game easier to get into, easier to progress, and someone who wants to progress, and I've mentioned it in the podcast before, especially around Into the Light and Final Shape, I want to do hardcore content. I want to be able to do GMs. I want to do master dungeons. I want to do these things, but I feel there's so much stuff. It's between information and gear, and it just bogs me down to the point where I don't, because it becomes so much like a chore. Now, we talked about matchmaking. We talked about full power climb in PvP. We're going to talk about what I think is the most important part of this entire stream, the post-launch content. So, we have Rite of the Nine out now with shiny holofoil weapons, a unique title. That's all great to chase. We have Edge of Fate in September. Edge of Fate, by the way, comes out July 15th. In September, Bungie will do the impossible. We're going back to the Plague Lands, baby! They said I was crazy. They said it would never happen. Who's crazy now? I'm getting my Iron Banner gear, and I'm going into the Plague Lands, and I'm going to spank any enemy that's there. Splicer, Fallen, Hive. I hope Saladin shows up. I'm so excited. Does this mean we're getting Wrath of the Machine back? Maybe. They did say we're getting a raid with Edge of Fate. Maybe we get Wrath of the Machine. Maybe not. But that's coming in September. And then in the winter, we're going to have Renegades, which they teased, which is a Star Wars-inspired expansion. And they showed it, and if you saw the leaks from PlayStation, you had this theory already. There's a hand cannon that looks like Han Solo's blaster. There's a sort of lightsaber. All the armor is very Star Wars-esque. They show them on land speeders in what essentially looks like Tatooine. And the way they describe this is it's very Destiny coded. It's as if you took Star Wars and looked at it through the lens of Destiny. The interesting thing is LucasArts or Lucasfilms Games, whatever the games division of LucasArts is in the trailer for Renegade. Now, this Bife theorized this means that it's officially licensed. I don't know if it's because of the content we'll get in the expansion or if it's because of the pre-order bonus we get for the deluxe edition of the expansion. So if we get the deluxe edition, we get 3 new armor sets, one of which is Darth Vader, for the Titans, one of which is General Grievous for the Hunters, and I forget what the Warlocks was. That could be part of the Lucasfilms licensing, because when they did the Star Wars collabs, I'm pretty sure the LucasArts Games logo was there as well. Personally, I'm not saying it's bad. I love Star Wars. I saw episode 3 in theaters, and I mean, I have my cup right here. I went out. This is my favorite Star Wars film, and then last year I saw my second favorite film, Return of the Jedi, in theaters. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. The armor, I don't know. When I play Destiny, I don't want to play Star Wars. That's just a personal thing. It's going to sell like hotcakes. It's going to print money. Kudos to them. So that's the expansion. Now, in terms of seasonal content, they said the way this is all set up, where the 2 expansions come out and then you have the 2 major updates, there is no paid seasonal content. There is no side seasonal storyline. So the major update in September, Ashes and Forge, I believe it's called. Let me see if I have it in my notes here. I might not. Ash and Iron. It's free. What does that mean? What does it look like? On the banner, they showed that it was a new activity. Who knows? But they said the way they want to do this going forward, and again, we don't know how long this is. This could just be the next 2 years worth of content. They don't have to spend resources on doing these paid seasonal activities and storylines that just get swept away. So it'll be very interesting to see. All in all, it was a great showcase. I liked what I saw. I liked what they had to show. I wish we saw more of Edge of Fate. I understand why we didn't, but I wish we saw more. One last thing, Solstice is coming up, and they did show off that Solstice weapons are going to get holofoil treatment. And the one they showed, basically it looks like sandbar and waves, very similar to the shader we got last year. So that's nice. I don't know if I'll know life Solstice of Heroes because Bonfire Bash is, but it's something new and it's something cool, and I do enjoy that. The things I didn't like about the reveal, I wish, like I said, they showed more. I understand why they didn't. I understand why very hands close to the chest, even though a bunch of stuff leaked. The New Land Beyond, which they showed off in the trailer. The Star Wars stuff. But the other problems that I have concerns about weren't addressed at all. And one of those being the limitations of having Destiny 2 as your platform to release all this content while supporting last-gen consoles. And the reason I say this is because it was something that was brought up during Rise of Iron. They could not release Rise of Iron on last-gen consoles. It wasn't going to work. It would bloat things too much internally. So they dropped last-gen consoles to release Rise of Iron. I've stated for years, Beyond Light On really at any point could have been a Destiny 3. It seems like Beyond Light was supposed to be the Destiny 3. But I'm very shocked that they're still supporting last-gen consoles, and I don't know what this means for the future. Because how many of these expansions can you introduce a new planet with new activities and new armor and new... How long can you continue to do this? It's something I don't think people are realizing, and if they are, nobody's really talking about it. They're not making a Destiny 3 that we know of at this moment. So they, quote unquote, can't put all the content back because of hardware limitations. So why can we keep getting new content? Not why, but how much longer can we keep getting new content until it's finally too much? Until they have to sunset, oh, we're going to be removing Shadowkeep from the game. And it's a whole nother Red War fiasco. So that was my one concern. My second concern is the New Light experience. They did not touch on this at all. And in an age where it's even harder to get into the game as a new player, and I have seen this firsthand. You can go onto my YouTube channel, onto my community tab. I have a post there asking people, dozens of comments. Yeah, I tried. It doesn't make sense. I didn't really understand it. I didn't know what to play. I took a break and then all the content I was doing was gone. They didn't touch on that either. And I know that this was the big Edge of Fate shebang. I really hope they start talking about this soon. Maybe they can't because they're tied up in this court case, which they might lose because they don't have the content in the game. But it's something to consider and it's something to think about. Not only the new player experience, but how much longer can we keep supporting Destiny 2 in its current state? Now, I know people grab their torches and pitchforks when anybody brings up Destiny 3. Cross, I'm looking at you. But I'm not necessarily talking about a Destiny 3. Do I think a Destiny 3 would have been the perfect way to start a new saga? Absolutely. It makes so much sense narratively. You just wrapped the 10-year story. The Light and Darkness saga ends with the final shape. You did your epilogues with the episodes. Then you go, bam, Edge of Fate, Destiny 3. Or Destiny Forever. Whatever you call it, doesn't matter. That's fine. What I'm talking about is how much longer until the limitations actually show and we start seeing the cracks in the code and the seams in the wallpaper, and it all starts to peel, and we start to feel the age of this game. We're coming up on Destiny 2 being 10 years old. I'm just saying, these are things to think about. Again, I'm very excited for what's to come. I have to go finish up grinding Heresy on my Titan. I have things I want to do again. I'm excited to play again. Rite of the Nine looks great. Edge of Fate has me excited. This reveal has completely changed how I was going to work through stuff this summer in terms of games, because that's how excited I am to play it. And I hope you're excited as well. Is this going to save, this is going to save Destiny. Bungie figured it out, blah, blah, blah. It's most likely going to be a very good expansion. Hopefully, it's better than what we've been getting with these episodes. Because I'm going to be honest, if they launch Edge of Fate and we got all hyped about this and Edge of Fate hits like Echoes hit, they didn't cook, they're cooked. But I don't think that's the case. I've been told, again, by my source, look forward to the Edge of Fate. You should be excited. And this is someone who has put way more time into Destiny than I have. And I've trusted them every time they've said something like that to me. Witch Queen, same thing. Beyond Light, same thing. Final Shape, same thing. Lightfall was the only one that was, we'll see when it happens. With all that being said, are you excited for Edge of Fate? What are you doing now to get ready? Are you grinding out Rite of the Nine? Are you taking a break? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, until next time, fly safe, Guardians.